got to love Jesus. Amen. Well, we have come into this house and gathered in His name to worship Him. We have come into this house and gathered in His name to worship Him. We have come into this house and gathered in His name to worship Christ the Lord. Worship Him, Jesus Christ the Lord. We have come into this house and gathered in His name to worship Him. We have come into this house and gathered in His name to worship Him. We have come into this house and gathered in His name to worship Christ the Lord. Worship Him, Jesus Christ the Lord. He is all my righteousness. I stand and plead Him and worship Him. He is all my righteousness. I stand and plead Him and worship Him. He is all my righteousness. I stand and plead Him and worship Christ the Lord. Worship Him, Jesus Christ the Lord. You may be seated this morning, and Brother Lenny and Brother John going to take up tithes and offerings this morning. Brother Lenny.
Praise God. God, Father, we come to you this time for the tithe and offering. Father, we ask you, God, for that for the Christians, and Father, we be ever mindful of you all. And Father, we be ever mindful of you all the praise and precious and holy name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Well, how great is our God? How great is His name? He's the great The world is not in the best shape as far as Christians are concerned.
Amen.
And you know what? The one thing that we can have in common is that God's going to take us through.
Amen.
Because He said that I will see you through.
Yes.
He said when the enemy comes in like a flood, I will raise up the standard against him. Amen.
Praise the Lord.
Now, what I'm here for is during the business meeting, pastor's going down to Casa Grande to this thing, and the church said we would pay for his trip.
That's right.
So, what we need is a little bit of money to facilitate that. So, Lenny and Brother John are going to come back, and we're going to take up an offering. We need at least $200 to send him down there because his stay is going to be cut short to come back for the funeral, but that's all right. He still has to travel, and it still costs gas. And I don't know how many times people have got gas this week, but it went from $2.67 to $2.95 just in this week alone. So gas is going to cost him. So while Brother Lenny and Brother John come, we're going to take up an offering for Pastor to go to Casa Grande. And we want you to give out of the abundance of your heart. Amen? All right, Brother John. Amen. All right, we thank you for your giving. We thank you for each and every one of you. I thank you for being involved in worship. You know, when you stand up here, we've talked about this at times. You know, it's great to see everybody's hands raised, worshiping their God. Worshiping their God. Amen. All right, Pastor. Yeah, you don't have to say that. We're taking it.
I appreciate people. You mean so much to me, so much to church, and I wasn't expecting that. I appreciate it. We'll be going Wednesday, coming back Thursday, and going back on Friday just to, for the rest of the service, or the rest of the meeting. I thank God for what He's doing. I do want to say this too. Last week I went to the hospital to pray for the lady that was terminally ill with a brain tumor. And I got a text from her husband. Said, I have never met this man. I have no idea who he is. I don't know him. She's in Arizona. He has a California phone number. I don't know the situation. But he texted me and he said, Pastor, he said, I want to thank you for going and praying for my wife. He said she's now been moved to a rehabilitation center in Sun City West. And he said she is improving daily. Thank God for it. God is so good. He is so good to us. And I tell you what, I want to talk to you about a little bit this morning. If I asked this morning, how many of you believe every word in the Bible, every hand in the room would go up? The problem is sometimes we don't act like it. Now, I don't know, I don't want to step on no one's toes, but I'm telling you, sometimes we don't act like it. Jesus said, I will go before thee and I'll make a way. We used to sing that song years ago, I know the Lord will make a way for me. I know the Lord will make a way somehow. But sometimes we don't act like we believe that. Come on.
Sometimes we don't act like we just, well, how's this going to happen? You say you read the Word, you say you believe the Word, and then something comes our way, and we're like, well, how's this going to happen? Or we'll sing that song, Jesus is a way maker, and I know He'll make a way for me, and that's how, I mean, that's really good when things are going well. But let something happen, and we forget about that song. Is this all right? I want to encourage you this morning. I don't know what you need God to do. I don't know what doors you need opened, but the God that I serve can open the doors for you that need to be opened. And if you're asking to open a door and it's not good for you to go through that door, He's not going to open it. But understand this, that whatever God has His hand in it, and whatever it is His will and His way, and He will make a way. Amen. We find it in Isaiah 45, chapter 45, verse 2. He said this, I will go before thee. I will make the crooked places straight. How many of you feel like sometimes you're on one of those roads that just switches back and forth, and you're not getting anywhere? You feel like the harder you pray, the worse things get. See, like the more you seek God, the worse they get. Well, I got news for you. Just stay on that path. Stay on that path. Don't go searching for your own way. Let God make a way for you. Let God take you through however He wants to take you. We want Him just to put us on a super highway and shoot us straight to where we want to be. But sometimes He will take us a different route. But if we'll stay, it says He will make the crooked places straight. I will break into pieces the gates of brass, cut asunder the bars of iron. I don't care what you're up against. I don't care what the situation is. It may look impossible, but with God, all things are possible. He will make a way for you. Don't get discouraged. Don't give up on God. Don't blame God. Don't start trying to figure out how you're going to solve it. You cannot solve it. If you could, you would. That's why we have faith, because God knows that we can't do all of this within ourselves. He knows that we do not have the strength and the knowledge and the understanding to do this on our own. That's why He gives us faith to believe and to trust in Him that He would make a way. He will make a way for you. He will open the doors that need to be opened and close those that need to be closed. But I guarantee you, if you'll stay on that path, no matter how rough it may seem right now, God will smooth that path.
That's right. Yes, He will.
I got a testimony this morning. I'm not going to tell you from who or what, but I will tell you this. I got a testimony this morning. A few months ago, I got a phone call. And you know what? There were some folks that were very brokenhearted. There were some folks that their heart was hurting. They were crushed. They were going through something. They needed something from God. They were on one of those crooked paths. And it didn't seem like anything was going to happen. It didn't seem like any good was going to come. Absolutely looked at it like everything that was going to be bad, that could happen bad, was going to happen bad. They said, will you pray? Will you pray? And we began to pray, and we prayed about this. They come in this morning, and they said, hey, listen, God's doing some stuff. What looked to be the ultimate worst has taken a turnaround. What seemed to be the very worst that could happen, what seemed to be a closed door that could not be opened, what seemed to be a mountain that was impassable, what seemed to be a sea that was too deep to cross, God has begun to move, and doors are happening, opening, a way is being made. If you don't give up, if you don't quit on God, God will not quit on you. When I begin to hear that, tears begin to well up inside me, and I begin to say, only God, only God, folks, only God. He said, I will make a way for you. He said, I'll tear down those bars. I'll crush them. Listen, there's things that we face every day. Nothing is impossible with God. Nothing is too hard for God. I don't care what we're facing. I think of poor little Sister Williams, one of the dearest saints of God I know. A lady that loves God. A lady that has served God, raised her family in God's house, raised them to serve the Lord. Her heart is breaking. She's been praying for my family, pray for my family. She was definitely on one of those rough roads. One of them crooked paths, one of those that was blocked with obstacles from every side. Didn't seem like it was possible. But he said over in Isaiah the 40th chapter, if you would turn with me there, the 4th verse, said, every valley shall be exalted, every mountain shall be, and hill shall be made low. What is that saying? He's saying it's going to be made passable. Amen. You're going to get over it. You're going to go through it. You're going to go across it. Don't look at the size. Don't size up your needs. Don't size up what you need from God. Don't put it on a scale of big, small, extra large, jumbo size. Because all God sees is a need. I said all God sees is a need. He don't see a large size and a small size. Said every valley shall be exalted, every mountain and hill shall be made low, and the crooked shall be made straight, and the rough places plain. Yeah, what does that mean? That means you're going to come to some places in your walk with God that is rough. You're going to come to some paths that is hard. You're going to come face some things that's not easy. But the promise has been made from God Himself that I will smooth out the rough places. I will move the mountains. I will lower them, and you will walk across, and you'll do it in victory. But you can't give up. You can't give up. And he said, then the glory of the Lord shall be revealed. Come on, church. I said the glory of the Lord shall be revealed. The glory of the Lord. If you haven't seen the glory of the Lord in your life, then get out of the way and let God take you where He wants you, that He can bring His glory upon you. If you give up, you will not see that glory. If you quit praying, you will not see that glory. If you wander off of the path, He didn't say anything about, okay, the path is crooked. Well, maybe you ought to take one to the right and see if it's a little better. Or maybe take one to the left and see if it's a little better. I think I went sideways on that the wrong way. You see, when I stay on the path, I know my left from my right. He don't say anything about searching out and going another way. Stay where you're at. Keep your feet planted firm. And let God lead you, and He will lead you into victory. I said, He will lead you into victory. He said, my glory shall be revealed. I don't know about you. I don't know if you've ever had that happen or not, but I've been there. I know what that road is like. I've traveled it. And when I finally come to the place where I went off the path. I was searching for my own peace. I was searching for my own way. I was trying to figure out how to get myself. Man, I've been there. I know what I'm talking about. When the Bible says He will make a way. He will make paths straight. And I've traveled that, and I went that way for over a year. And I was so bound. And I'm going to tell you something. When you start searching out your own ways, get ready, because you are going to fall into a depression. You hear me? When you start following your own path, you will fall into a depression. One, because you have stepped out and you've taken it completely out of God's hands. You're asking God to do it, but you've got it over here under your arm, and you're not giving it to God, and you're trying to do it, and you're going to get into a deep depression. For over a year, I was a mess. I tried everything everybody told me. Every time I heard a preacher say something would work, I tried it. I'm not saying they were wrong, I'm saying it didn't work for me. Every time I heard something, I hear somebody say, oh, you got to listen to this song. And that's good, there's nothing wrong with that. But all along, I'm searching for something else. And I've taken my eyes off of God. And I've just come almost to the place to saying, I don't think God's going to do it. And I fell into a depression. I didn't care whether I lived or died. I didn't care what happened around me. I was like, I just didn't care anymore. My heart was heavy. I was like, it doesn't matter. Life doesn't mean anything to me. I'm just going to kill it. One day I just went and lay across my bed and I said, okay, God, enough is enough. I can't do this, God. He said, I didn't ask you to do it.
Come on, right?
He said, I didn't ask you to do it. I laid across my bed. And I wept. And I cried. And I prayed. I said, God, I can't do this. I can't do it. I can't do it. And I told Him everything that I had tried. I wanted to let Him know I was working on it. He didn't need my help. But I did. I told Him, I said, God, I did this. And God, I've done this. And God, I've done that. And I said this. And I've done this. And I've done that. And I'm going away, weeping and bawling and crying. And just, I got to ask for help, God. And had sang those same songs for years. I know my God will make a way someday. I know my God, I know my Lord will make a way. All the songs. Jesus is a way maker. He'll make a way for me. And I had lost my way. I hadn't backslid, turned my back on God. I had just drawn up in a cocoon. And I wasn't going to let anybody get to me. I was just... And so I got up from there. I don't remember what day it was. It was on Wednesday, Thursday. I don't know what day it was. I got up Friday, Thursday, Friday. I was worse. The next day I was worse. Saturday I was even worse. I'm thinking, man. Go to church Sunday morning and it was even worse than ever. Why am I here? I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here, you know, and I just didn't want to be there. Back on Sunday night, got back Sunday night, sat on the seat, third seat in the back. I just sat back here by myself in the corner. All by myself. Wallowing in my sorrow. Deeply depressed. Asking myself, what am I doing here? Why don't you just get up and go home? The service was about, as my daddy used to say, dry as last year's bird's nest. It's pretty dry. A fresh one's pretty dry, but let me tell you, one from a year ago is really dry. And I'm just sitting there. I'm thinking, good Lord, what am I doing here? And all of a sudden, a message in tongues came forth. Interpretation came forth and read me like a book. Your attitude toward what you are facing can hinder the moving of the Spirit. And man, when that thing finished up, it was everything I had said on Wednesday, word for word. I mean, word for word. I just got up and I literally run to the altar. 45 minutes later, the glory was revealed in my life. I stood and I began to weep and cry before God. The presence of God came down on me, and from then on, I have not ever had to face what I faced then, but it didn't happen until I was willing to step aside and let God do it. And I will tell you something. That service broke. That service broke. There was a young man about 20 years old, I guess. He was a good Christian kid. But he hadn't really been doing what he should. And for whatever reason, he come up to pray for me while I'm down there weeping. And when I come to, and God had revealed His glory to me, this young man is dancing all over that church. That service broke. People begin to cry, they begin to weep, and they begin to come to the altars. And it was all because I was willing to finally get out of God's way and let God do what needed to be done. As I saw that young man, he danced, I think he danced for, they said, about an hour, just danced back and forth in front of the church. I mean, people all over the floor, people everywhere, and he just danced all the way around.
Glory.
Why? Because I stepped aside and allowed God to do it. But he said, the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all the flesh shall see it together. You want to see people shout? Let go of what you're holding on to. Come to the altar. Let go of what you're holding on to. Give it to God. Let His glory be revealed in you. And when you begin to shout, and when you begin to worship God, and when you begin to praise God, everybody will see it. Everybody will feel it. Everybody will experience it. And people across the congregation will begin to shout and will begin to dance and begin to praise God. They'll begin to cry. They'll begin to weep. And many of them will begin to get out of the way and let God do it for them.
Amen.
I had that service locked up tight and didn't even know it. And when that realization hit me after it was all over, Man, did I feel bad. But it took yielding to God and realizing that it was God. That it was God and only God could do it. I don't care what is happening in your life. You've got to realize that God will make a way for you. You've got to come to the realization it's not in your hands. It's not your battle. It's not your fight. It's not yours. It belongs to God. Why? Because we belong to God. He is our Father, and He knows what's best, and it will step aside and give it to God. God can then work. Yeah. But we've got to realize that He is the way maker, that He will make a way out of nowhere. He'll take us. He'll take things that you absolutely cannot believe can happen, and He will make them happen before your very eyes. Amen. I've told this story before, but I just feel like sharing just a minute of it. We had a lady that had been in a wheelchair for 10.5 years, and she come to my dad's church for 6.5 years, and she always sat in the back for worship. She always sat in the back because the church was so small, and she always sat back there, and she always worshiped God. But all of a sudden, one night, for some reason, she decides, I want to go to the front. And her daughter said, well, she goes, I don't care how many people's down there. I want to go down to the front. She goes, I want to go down there. I'm tired of doing my worship in the back. Amen. And they brought her to the front. Put her in a wheelchair right here. And again, I told you my dad's church was only 20 by 55. You had 2 8-foot pews, and you had 3 foot in the middle. And from the edge of the platform to the front pew was about 10 feet with an 8-foot platform. And when you get 100 people in there and they're shouting and dancing and carrying on, there's not a lot of room. Come on. But she come over here and she sat in her chair. And she just lifted up her little frail hands. She began to cry. She began to pray, and the preachers went by and prayed for her. And they went on their way, prayed for other people, and she started crying. But all of a sudden, when she stopped letting that hold her back and moved forward, then all of a sudden there was a scream. I mean, brought a hush over that church, brought a hush over that church, and she comes flying out of that wheelchair. She danced every inch of that little building that you could dance. She run, she leaped, and she danced, and she run, and she leaped. They couldn't stop her. They couldn't slow her down. She wouldn't stop. Somebody wanted to grab her, shake her hand, and she just jerked loose and go and run and run. Why? Because when God was put in charge, when she got out of the way and looked God make the way, God healed her and set her free. Her entire family was saved. Amen. That night. Every child, every son-in-law, every daughter-in-law, every grandchild, every one of them. We had church till 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm not kidding you. It was 3 o'clock before they finally locked up the doors and people went home. And almost everyone that started at 7:30 was still there at 3 o'clock. Amen. Why? Because the glory was revealed in someone that was willing to say, okay, God, I've done all I can do. I'm just going to go and I'm going to let you do it. About 2 years later, somebody asked my mom, I said, Sister Grammer, is that lady still walking? My mom said, did you just ask me that question? Yeah. Is she still walking? My mom said, you just asked me that. She goes, yeah. She said, do you think that God is going to give her one night to walk and rejoice and then stick her back in that wheelchair? When God makes a way, He makes a way. When He opens a door, the door is open. When He does something, He does it right. And when He does it right, His glory is revealed. And when it's revealed, lives change and things happen. And God does not go back on His word. God does not go back on His word. My mom said, look at her, she said, I'm ashamed of you for even asking that. Now my mom was a woman of few words. My mom was very quiet. A woman of few words until they come to worship. And when it come to worship, that woman could scream like a hyena, boy. I'm telling you what, she'd get over her little corner, she's up against the wall, third row in the back, from the front, and back in the corner, up against the wall. And she'd be sitting there during service, and she'd be praying. And I'll tell you what, if you ever seen her hand go up like this, you just get ready. Because once that hand went up like that, I could see her till the day. Her hand would go up like that. And she'd turn her head like that. And when she did, get ready. Because she's fixing to let out a war whoop like you never heard. And she's going to come to her feet. And I'm telling you something, the presence of God is going to come down and things are going to happen. Folks, when we let God do it, when we let Him have His way, it doesn't have to be, listen, it don't have to be because you're going through a trial. His way may mean that He wants you to stand in your seat and lift your hands at the most inopportune time and begin to praise Him. I said it may be that He just wants you to break out in a heavenly laughter. But if you will let God have His way, His glory will be revealed. Amen. A lady come to me after service one night, a couple years ago, elderly person. She comes to me. Well, first her husband did. He said, I told her she needs to apologize. I said, what? He said, I told her she needs to apologize. And boy, he was aggravated. And I said, well, what? What did she do? It's not what she did, it's what she didn't do. And I couldn't figure it. And I'm thinking, man, I'm right in the middle of a family feud here. I don't know about that. I don't cater to family feuds too well. And he said, tell him. I had no idea what was coming. She says, you tell him. He says, I'll tell you what it was. Said she told me during service that God told her to get up and run around the church, and she wouldn't do it. And he said, I told her, do you know what would have happened if you would have done that? Nobody knows what would have happened, but you didn't do it. And he's just, I'm like, whoa. You see, had she let God have His way, there is no telling what would have happened. And she started crying. She said, I wanted to do that so bad, but I just didn't let myself. You see, there's a lot of ways to let God have His way. But when God has His way and He makes the way, things are going to happen. Amen. So I don't know how the discussion went on the way home in the vehicle. I'm kind of glad I wasn't in there. Actually, I'm real glad. But Isaiah chapter 43, verse 16. Said, thus saith the Lord, which maketh a way in the sea, and a path in the mighty waters. We've all faced some big things. But have you faced walking up to a sea with millions of people behind you, with millions of lives in your hands, that the enemy was set to destroy and to kill, and you walk up to a sea because you have went down and made these people a promise. You have went down and told them, listen, y'all get together and go with me. I'm going to get you out of here. I'm going to take you out of this slavery. I'm going to take you out. Now let's go. And you get down and there's a sea and you got millions behind you. I've been through some big things, but nothing like that. And you go before God and you go out there and you go, what does he say? I parted those waters.
Glory.
If I did it for Moses and the children of Israel, and then I turn around and drown and kill their enemy, his glory was revealed. If he'll do it then, he will do it again. But we've got to let God have his way.
Amen.
Moses didn't argue with God. Moses didn't dispute God's word. He didn't say, God, I don't know. I don't know if that'll work or not, God. But he did what God told him to do. God says today, do what I've asked you to do and let me have my way and my will and my glory will be upon you.
Amen.
He said, which bringeth forth the chariot and the horse and the army and the power, and they shall lie down together and they shall not rise. They are extinct, they are quenched as tow. Remember ye not former things, neither consider the things of the old. Quit thinking it through.
Amen.
One of the biggest problems we have is we think too much. We think too much sometimes. I think if I do this, this will work. I think if I do that, it will work. And if we keep thinking and thinking and thinking and we think ourselves out of the thoughts of God, out of the promises of God, and then God doesn't come through, we get mad at God. Had Moses not been obedient to God, the children of Israel would have been overtaken and they would have been slaughtered for trying to leave Egypt. One man. Now you think about this. What can I do in a service by being obedient to God? What can I do in a service by letting God have his way in my life? Moses, one man, his obedience set a whole nation of people free. By one man. Letting God have his way. Not looking at the dynamics of the problem. Because you're going to make it bigger than it is. I know. This is all experience time. Nothing speaks like experience, they tell me. All you're going to do is make it bigger. You're going to exaggerate it. And the more that you exaggerate it, the bigger you make it, the less your faith drops. And it drops and drops until you cannot see God's glory in it. He said, behold, I will do a new thing, and it shall bring forth. Shall you not know it? I will even make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. I will make a way. God will make a way for you. I don't care what you're facing. God will make a way. Then over in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. I have had people over the last 4 years from time to time. Message in tongues would come forth. And they would tell me 2 days later, a lot of good it does then. But they would tell me 2 days later, well, I felt God giving me the interpretation. I felt God giving me the interpretation. And then they would throw that little 3-letter word in there. But. Why are you telling me? You need to talk that over with God. Because you may have just caused somebody. I didn't tell them that in my thinking. It was that way. You may have just caused somebody to lose something from God that they needed because you wasn't obedient. If God gives it to you, act on it. Let God have His way. Let Him do with whatever. That's not your decision. That's not my decision. Ours is to obey God. But He said, there hath no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it. Oh, sounds to me like that He's not just going to pick you up over here and set you over here. Sounds to me like that you may have to wait a little bit. You may have to go through a little bit. But the promise of escape has been made. Let go and let God have His way. We're living in a society where we want everything right now. Quick serve society. J.D. Wentworth, it's my money and I want it now. You know? I don't want to have to wait. I want my food now. Oh, it's cold. Well, you wanted it, didn't you? You got it. If you'd have waited a little bit longer, it would have been hot. If you'd have waited a little bit longer, it would have been cooked the way you wanted it to be. You want it right now, so you start fussing, you got it. We're living in a society we want everything right now. We don't want to wait for nothing. We're the most impatient, and the church is the same way. That's why so many churches are in so much trouble right now financially, because they couldn't wait. They couldn't wait. We want it. We want it now. Step back. Trust God.
Yes.
Let God make a way, and when He makes a way, there ain't no devil in hell can stop it. Ain't no devil in hell can keep God from doing it if we just step back and get out of the way and let God do it. He said, I'll make a way. I'll make a way. A way of escape means that you're going to get out of wherever you are in bondage.
Amen.
Bottom line. 2000, I went up to Prescott Valley to preach for Brother Jennings one Sunday morning. After church, I had about, my phone was ringing off the wall. So I answered it. What's going on? Did you hear? It's what? Some guy down at the prison where you work went under the fence. I said, maybe he's come here to hear me preach. They said, no, he went south. But what was it? He found a way of escape. They never did find him. So for the next month, my son-in-law and a crew of guys with a shovel and a wheelbarrow and about 500 bags of concrete poured a concrete barrier all the way around the chain link fence. Nobody else is going to do that. You see, He will make a way of escape when when you escape something, means you are free.
Amen.
I said, you are free. He said, who the Son has set free is free indeed. Sister Bertha, would you, Brother John, come to the front, please? Listen. If you are not free in your spirit to do what God's asking you to do in a service, you are in as much bondage as somebody in sin. You've got to be free. You've got to be free. You've got to listen. Let God make the way. If He's telling you, do it, do it.
Amen.
Do it. Would you stand with me this morning? My dad had a saying in his church. He said, whatsoever the Lord saith unto you, do it. Because he had enough knowledge, enough wisdom. If it wasn't said the Lord, he'd just go back and quiet you down. But he never had that problem. He never had that problem. I don't care what you're facing. My God will make a way. He will make a way for you. I don't care what it is you're praying about. I don't care what it is, financially, physically, family, doesn't matter. You see, the church has a problem with categorizing needs. I'm sorry, but they do. They have a problem with categorizing needs. Well, you know why you categorize them? Because it's not yours. When it's yours, oh no, it's different. But we do sometimes, we think, well, that's just a little thing. So no. Brother Ben Johnson was here. His grandmother back in the 70s wrote a little song called He's Mindful of the Little Things. I said, God is mindful of the little things. Because why? Because nothing is large or small in the eyes of God. If you've been praying about something, when you come, we're going to pray for you. That God will help you to step aside and let Him make the way. You will never win anybody to the Lord by telling them every time you see Him, if you don't change, you're going to die and go to hell. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. But if you put them in God's hands, tell them they need God, put them in God's hands and step aside, God will make the way for somehow someone to lead them to salvation. If you're here this morning, you need prayer for something, we want to pray with you. We want to believe God with you. Listen. All you have had to have done is attended this church for the past minimum of the past 18 months. And you should not have any questions about believing God will make a way. And if you've been here since January or February of 2015, whatever, I think it was 2015, if you've been here since that day, you should not have any problem believing that God will make a way for you. Because He has proven Himself over and over and over. If you need prayer, we want you to come. We want to pray with you. That God will make a way. He will. whatever He promises, He will fulfill. And we're going to pray for these. Brother Sanders, would you come? Father, God, in the name of Jesus. Father, oh God, God, we know that you're the way. God, we know there's nothing impossible. Make a way, God. Make a way, God. Open that door. Destroy the obstacle. Make a path. Oh, God. In the name of Jesus. In the name of Jesus. Father, you know. God, you know our heart. God, you know what's in your God, only you can take it. God, only you can take it.
Glory.
Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Praise you, Lord. Thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah.
Most of you know that probably for a year, I've been praying, and this church has been praying for a healing. I have diabetes, and I have an ulcer in the bottom of my foot, and it just wouldn't go away. And about a month ago, they amputated my big toe. As I was listening to the pastor this morning, the first thing that he was talking about, going down, God will take you down different paths. And it may not seem like the path that you want to go, but my heart is in Africa. I ministered in Africa twice. I was there for 17 days and then 30 days. Well, the pastor over there sent me a message here not long ago, about 3-4 months ago, said, I'll pay your way to come and minister. No way can I go with an infection in my foot. And like I said, about a month ago, they removed the toe. And I was laying in the hospital bed, and I thought, why? Why did I go down this road? Why did I cause this? But why, I've seen God basically raise the dead. I seen blind eyes open, deaf ears open. And I'm thinking, why in the world won't you heal me? And I was feeling sorry for myself and my son. God made me a promise a long time ago that he and I would tag team preach. And he is not living for the Lord. And it was 2 days after they had removed my toe, I was laying in there and he came in to see me. And I said, I'm really struggling. And he said, Dad, how many times have you asked God to heal you? This is your healing. That infection is no longer in my body. The hole is closing up. And I thought, man, I'm getting my healing.
Amen.
It wasn't the way that I thought
Amen.
that it was going to come. But God takes us in those paths
Glory.
that we don't understand. He said, I'll open doors that no man can close and close the doors that no man can open. This is my door to go back and minister to the people in Africa. And I
Thank you,
praise
Lord.
him. I thank him for
Thank you,
everything
Lord.
that he's doing in my life right now.
Amen. Hallelujah.
Yeah, pretty much. It's too good to be in God's house.
Amen.
I was up there with Bob, and I'll tell you what, it did not look good, but by the grace of God. And, they go up there and you say, you want to see that? No, I don't want to see that. Doctor will come in here, nurse will come here, and they're going to start, oh my God, no, I don't see it. I don't need to see how bad something is to know God can fix it.
Amen. That's it.
All right, we'll just stay. We'll be back tonight for service. Come expecting God to do some great things for us. And come praying and believing. And so, Brother Lenny, would you dismiss us in prayer? Blessings and everything that you did today, Father. And Father, I pray God that you be with us